Good morning, good morning, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Nomads Without Limits for our next chapter of Nomad Expat Chat. And here we have Miss Patty Hayes. Miss Patty Hayes, how are you doing today?
I am doing excellent. Thank you, James. Thanks for inviting me to this discussion.
You are welcome. You're welcome. Well, you were referred to me by one of our other nomads, Suzanne. And I tried to get Suzanne to come and talk, and she's like, no, no, no. I think Patty would do a much better job. So I said, okay. So I reached out to you, and here we are. Okay.
Yes.
And since our last chat, man, I Googled you. I'm like, man, this is a very interesting woman. And so the things
Thank
that you
you.
told me, and I was thinking, wow, I really want to talk to her and share you with the world and your experiences. So tell me a little bit about yourself. And you're in Panama, correct?
Yeah.
Who are you and how did you end up in Panama?
Oh my gosh. How much time do we have? Right. Like when you talk about history, it's like, where do you start with your, at what stage in your life? And well, how did I end up in Panama? I was looking for alternative places to live outside of the United States, mostly driven by financial reasons. It was several years ago. Alimony from a divorce was coming to an end, and my self-employment income really wasn't enough to provide the quality of life that I wanted that was aligned with my values, like into my old age. If I wanted to work 3 jobs, sure, I could have stayed where I was. I was living in like one of the most expensive places in California in a small town called San Luis Obispo. It's a beautiful little hamlet, but it's very expensive. I didn't know that when I moved there. So I had a couple of years of searching and thinking outside the box, right? I started thinking maybe I could do full-time RV living. So I bought an RV and I did a 8-month trip across the United States. Part of that was to see if I could live full-time in an RV, if that was desirable. The other part was to see if there was someplace else in the US that I really gravitated to that was more affordable than where I was. And there was a easy no to both. So when I was in Florida, I'm sure many people in the Facebook group have stalked houses online. Do you know this? Have you stalked some property online?
Yes, I have.
So I was real estate stalking in Panama, and I found a house that I absolutely fell in love with. I mean, like hard. It had bamboo. It was like a Balinese style house. It was open, like this beautiful open floor plan. It had plants inside the house. There was amazing wood detail. Windows just opened up onto the stuff that's behind me, green, colors. And I just kept going back to that house, back to that house. And I was in Florida. I figured I must have some miles accumulated. So I took a trip specifically to see the house. I never got to see the house, but it was the trip that got me to Panama. And the minute I got off the plane, I just felt like I was home. It just felt like the right place. Right. So that's kind of how I ended up in Panama.
Okay. And I think we're all searching for that place to call home. We're all looking for that one place where you come off the plane and you just say, wow, my spirit resonates with where I am. And you found it.
Yeah. I think, there's another aspect to that too, that I've learned. And I'm sure a lot of, people who are travelers or nomads at heart feel is that because I used to be very attached to my home. When I was married, I, envisioned that we would be in that house until our old age. We would die in that house. Right. And so I was very attached to external things that defined what home meant. And only in the past 3 years, probably, when I've kind of been traveling and exploring, that I really realized that I'm home in my soul, in my heart. I'm home wherever I go. Yes. Right? Yes. I can find my peace wherever I am. And you have to do that when you're traveling nomadically, right? The
Right.
accommodations are going to be different. They might not be what your expectation is. Um, Everything, you have to be very flexible. You know, there's different foods, there's different smells and sounds and people, and ultimately, yes, I think we are kind of looking for, or some people are looking for, the place to just, I could stay here a while, you
Right.
know.
Right. So how long have you been in Panama?
2.5 years.
2.5
So
years.
July of 2019, I moved, and
Okay.
I was supposed to buy a condo and live at the beach, because isn't that what you'd want to do, right? It's
Yeah.
affordable compared to the US. I was very seduced by um, the ocean and the sand and this brand new condo building and the scammy realtor. Um, but thankfully, my house in California did not sell. So I didn't have the funds to buy that condo at the beach. And I think that's one of the biggest blessings that happened, because I then went into house sitting, and I got to explore a lot of different areas in Panama. And I realized that the beach isn't actually for me. It's too hot.
Yes.
It's too hot for day to day enjoyable living.
Right.
I wouldn't be able to sit outside like this for me down by the beach. You'd be sweating, too much.
So where do
So
you live now in Panama?
I'm in El Valle, a
Hawaii.
small mountain town about 40 minutes from the beaches.
Okay.
And it's about 2 hours outside of Panama City. So it's perfect. If I want some city excitement, I can pop in there and,
Nice.
get some great food. And there's tons of malls if you have the need for anything from a mall. Um, yeah.
So you mentioned your divorce, okay,
Mhm.
and your divorce ended up pushing you outside of your comfort zone, and you ended up exploring, looking for a place to call home. Let's talk about the divorce. How did that affect you mentally? How did it push you?
Um, it was the dark night of the soul like I've never ever experienced before. I was 46 when the end of the marriage came pretty abruptly. Although looking back, hindsight, there's always that 2020 vision, right? Um, and so to me, in my mind, it was, unexpected. And At that point, I'd lost both my parents. And, so I'd had a lot of losses of people dying in my life. But this divorce, it was soul crushing, soul shredding. I didn't realize until years later, when I was doing my healing work, that there'd actually been an old wound from my parents' divorce when I was 13 that never healed, because I was 13. I didn't go to therapy, I didn't go to counseling, I didn't do like the spiritual work. And so it really became apparent over time on my journey of healing. Once I healed that, I call it like it was a soul stone. Like if you have a kidney stone and it might flare up every once in a while.
Right.
Like I'd done a lot of work, a lot, and I was in a really good place, except every once in a while there was this annoying soul stone that, it might be like if I see a family, or maybe, around holiday time, and that soul stone would just grip me with emptiness and sadness and loss, for what I had. And I guess what maybe there was part of me that was still longing for that. But once that healed, it was gone. It was amazing,
Nice.
truly amazing.
Nice.
But man, healing is messy, you
Yeah. And
know?
a lot of us don't want to do the work.
No, no. And I, I'd had a combination of like numbing it, tons of booze, and then like doing, the therapy, the counseling that, eventually found my way to coaching and spiritual healing.
Yeah.
But human beings, we don't like pain, right? We seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Bingo. Yes. So tell me about the book that you wrote.
So the book that I wrote is called Wine, Sex, and Suicide, My Near-Death Divorce. And it's a journal of the time after the marriage ended, basically from like the time that I was on the plane coming back home after I found out about the infidelity and that, he was certain I don't want to be married anymore. So I thought that I was going to be writing a book about 1 year to heal and renew yourself after a divorce, right? I had a schedule. In 12 months, I'm going to be a brand new woman. It's going to be amazing. I always read these stories about women like, falling in love with their true soulmate or starting businesses that make multi-million dollars. I was like, I'm going to be like them. And instead, I went off the rails. I was off the deep end, but I was writing about it because I like to journal, and I knew that I wanted to write a book that was truthful and real about capturing the experience. So it was not pretty, right? It was really messy. But it's a common story. The more I would talk to people after I published, because I kept a lot of things secret, what I was doing, because I felt so ashamed that I'd fallen apart, like, oh, maybe my ex is right. I'm crazy. Maybe he's right. I don't have the strength to do X, Y, or Z. Maybe he's right. I'm not good enough. And so I had a lot of shame, a lot of self-harm that I was doing, risky behavior, because I felt so worthless.
Right. And that's what a lot of your
And
spouses, a lot of your exes will do that to you.
yeah. It's crazy, isn't it? How like the people that we're supposed to, love and be connected with in this sacred bond, sometimes they're the ones that can be the most hurtful dynamic. Right. But I do think that it was for my spiritual growth. I look back now and I see clearly I wasn't me. I wasn't, there's no way I could sustain being that person.
Now,
and I couldn't. We were together for 17 years.
Wow.
We were just married for 7, but living together for 10 years prior to that.
Okay.
So, I say 17 years that we were basically a married couple. So yeah, now I see so clearly that I couldn't be the person I am now in that relationship. But, in that beginning time, you have so much growing and healing to do. It takes a lot of time.
I think the hardest part is after you divorce, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. Look at yourself and say, okay, what is it about me that I'm doing wrong? What is it about me what am I attracting? Why am I attracting the same type of people to my space? Mm-hmm. And a lot of us don't want to do the work because it stinks. Like you say, it stinks, it's ugly. And we don't want to put ourselves through that pain, but we have to do that in order to grow.
Absolutely.
And if you continue the same patterns again and again. So
absolutely.
I started thinking, if I were to write a book like yourself, like, man, there are some things you wouldn't want people to know. So it takes a lot of courage to share with the world what you've been through.
Thanks. Yeah, it was very vulnerable. It's a very raw, open book, but it's helping people. And when we had talked, previously, I told you that when I was a little girl, I just felt that I wanted to write a book that would help grownups specifically. I didn't want to write a kid's book. I envisioned writing a book that would help adults when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And there was this, frustration because I knew that there wasn't anything that I could say at that time, but it was a desire that was within me. And over the years, I'd done a lot of different types types of writing. I tried to write screenplays when I lived in Los Angeles, articles. I never was really drawn to fiction. I've always liked nonfiction. So all those experiences prepared me to write this and publish the journal. The screenwriting really helped because of the dialogue and the scene setting. So people have said when they read my book, they're like, wow, I feel like I was right there with you on the journey.
So it's important to feel like you're helping people, to feel like you're making a difference. And I can see you're doing that. You're sharing your experiences, and that's it. People can learn from you.
Hopefully. Yeah. You know, or not feel alone, right? I think that when we do go through different experiences in life, we don't necessarily feel comfortable sharing those things. You know, maybe there's like the fear of being too vulnerable or open, or that somehow we're an anomaly, you know, like, oh, I must be the only one who's, you know, feeling this way or doing this behavior. But it helps. Like, so to get real, you know, I did have a suicide attempt, and I went to a psychiatric hospital. And in that psychiatric hospital, I felt so comfortable because there were other people in the same kind of pain that I had. We were all bonded by our pain. You know, we could look at each other and be like, yeah, I got you. I know what you're going through.
Right.
You know, and it was a safe place to just be yourself in that pain. Right. I don't think we have a lot of opportunities really to do that, you know, as we're trying to just navigate life and being human. So
yeah, suicide, the topic of suicide has become it's kind of touchy for me. I've had one military partner, army buddy, that killed himself. And I remember we spoke about 3 hours one Sunday, and the next day he killed himself.
Oh my gosh.
No idea he was thinking about suicide. I had no idea that it was on his mind.
Yeah.
And we had the best talk Sunday afternoon. And the next day I get a call from his brother saying that Mike killed himself. And I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. That must have been his way of saying goodbye to me.
Right.
And for the longest, it stayed with me. And to this day, I still call people up. Hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? What's on your mind? Talk to me. What's going on? Hadn't heard from you in a long time. What's going on in your life? And I just feel the urge to want to talk to people. And if you're going through something, I tell people, call me. Call me. And especially being a firefighter, I've run so many calls where people have killed themselves.
Yes.
And you get there, you're thinking, man, you didn't have anyone to talk to, you know. So I've come to the conclusion, if somebody wants to kill themselves, they're going to do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Not going to discuss it. So I had a chat with one of our nomads, and he was telling me that, you know, he suffers from PTSD. And so he has a lot of military partners or friends who want to commit suicide. So what happens is he'll tell them, look, if you want to commit suicide, that's your right. But promise me one thing, start a bucket list and write down all the things you want to do. And he said 9 times out of 10, people who would go ahead and complete their bucket list, they're feeling like they're on top of the world then. And suicide is the last thing on their mind. And I'm thinking, wow. So you have to get that mind going and keep it flowing instead of having that person stuck in the mud right there. You know, so
it's a really complex topic, and especially with PTSD and for military people, it's a very complex topic. And I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. I think what I learned from my experience, because my therapist would ask me, are you suicidal? And I would say no. But I was very much at risk of suicide. And what I didn't connect was that I really didn't want to end my life, right? I knew mentally, logically, that I could get through this, that it was possible because I'd gotten through other losses before. So I was like, I know that I'm capable of getting through this. But the pain that I was in on a daily 24-hour basis, shredded from the inside out, mental pain, spiritual pain, physical pain, inescapable. That is what I needed to end.
Right.
And so I think a lot of people who, have a suicide attempt, they just want that pain to end.
Right.
It's unbearable.
Yeah.
And there's no surgery, right? There's not like a surgery that you can have where like, okay, yep, we'll remove that pain and then patch you up and you can, go back and heal.
Right. So what would you recommend someone who wants to work through it? Therapy? Just what would you recommend? Any books to read? Any counseling sessions?
I think, there's so many things that could be valuable. For me personally, what I kind of wish that I had access to, and unfortunately not a lot of people have access to something like this, would be like a safe haven retreat where I could have had intensive counseling, been in a safe environment, not a lockdown facility like the mental health hospital, because those are horrible for your mental health, but a place that actually was more nourishment, the mind, the body, and the soul. Those places are usually privately run and they're really expensive. Insurance doesn't cover them typically. Aside from that, I think reading, it depends on the person. If reading stories about other people going through suicide and their attempt experience, if that's valuable to someone, then yes, they could read stories, bibliotherapy, basically, you read stories. But if it's going to be triggering and cause more pain, then no, that's not the right thing for that person. Certainly talking about it, because a lot of people will have suicidal ideation, right? They're just thinking like, oh, what would it be like to not be here and have to deal with all this stuff, right? What would it be like just to feel peace? But suicide has such a charge to it, the word, right? That I think a lot of people are afraid if they mention that word, oh, let me call 911. Yes. This is an emergency. Let me call, we got to save you, Yes. But that's not it. It's just a lot of times people, like, wow, this is just, and these are things that people will say where you can pick up that they might be contemplating suicide. Right. I don't think I can do this anymore. I'm not strong enough for this. I wish I could be put into a coma and wake up in X amount of time.
Okay.
I wish something would happen to me. I don't care if I get in a car accident. Maybe I could get a disease that will end my life, fast.
Right.
Driving while intoxicated, really like taking risks that could lead to harm.
Right. Without
caring. I didn't care what happened to me. I was kind of hoping like maybe somebody will strangle me and I'll just, then that'll be it. I won't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
So,
that's the bad thing about technology now. Everyone's texting and you're really not talking. You're really not having conversations,
yeah.
And now it's hi, bye, what's up? How you doing? I'm good. Okay. Talk later.
Yeah.
And so I have this one friend, she's always telling me, stop texting me. Call me. I am old school. Talk to me. And I'm like, I don't have time. So now I'm realizing, okay, let me put the phone, stop texting her and just call and talk.
Yeah.
So you went through your rough spell in your life, your growth spurt. I call it a growth because you hit that, when you hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So you end up in Panama. How has Panama changed your life?
Oh my gosh. How has Panama changed my life? Hmm. It's a really good question. I feel I feel like I'm home, right? Like I feel like this is the right country for me. It's a small country. There's tons of greenery and nature. And that really resonates with me. Um, I feel less pressure and stress than I did living in the States, especially around my finances. I am still working, but I only work about 3 or 4 days a week. I work for myself. So, I can kind of set my time. If I worked 4 days a week, I could probably take a few more trips here and there. But, the beaches are here and the mountains. So sometimes it's nice to only work 3 days a week. Um, so I think that's probably the most significant change is that I feel secure. I feel secure in just living my life. I feel like my finances are in good shape to carry me through my, older years if I'm blessed to have them. I'm 57 now. And I've been reevaluating a lot of things, partly because of being in Panama and maybe partly because of the age where I am. I do some communication coaching with a lot of young people who are very driven, motivated, inspired, right? And I listen to them and I'm able to coach them and help them. But then I reflect back to myself. Am I feeling driven, motivated, and inspired? Like, I'm not so sure. This might be the time where I'm like, just hike that trail, nap in that hammock, stroll the beach, collect some shells, listen to the wind, look at the flowers, a little bit like slower enjoyment of life.
Yes. I'm 56 now. And that
I thought
drive,
you were 22.
no, I lied. That's on my what do you call it? Oh God, that's my Tinder account. Okay, I'm 22, but I'm 56, and that drive that I had before to just go, 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 and I got to do this, and I got to do that. I'm chill. I'm in chill mode now,
Yeah. All right,
and
good. We're not
and
alone, right?
yeah. Now it's about pacing yourself. Let me pace myself to get to the finish line. There's no race here. So
Yeah.
I've gone from being the rabbit to the tortoise now, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm
Yeah.
able to enjoy the moments, be in the moment, versus flying down the highway at 90 and not seeing the beauty of the journey you were just on.
Yeah. Yeah. I do find that a lot actually with taking pictures. Like I do like to photograph things, but I also realize sometimes that like just being in the moment, instead of thinking, oh, that'll be a great picture, right? Just experience the place without racing to, pick up the phone to take a picture or a video or something. So, finding that balance too is important to just, be in that moment of what you're experiencing, not trying to capture it for later or Instagram or Facebook or, all
Yes.
those social media polls that we have.
I remember years ago, I went to a concert and there was a young lady, Layla Hathaway. I went to her show and she told people, put the cameras down,
Mm,
stop recording, stop taking pictures. I need you here in the moment with me.
hmm.
He said, I'm getting ready to give you the greatest performance. But if you're sitting there taking pictures, recording everything, you're going to miss it. And when you go home to show it to your family and friends, it won't be the same.
Right.
So she told everyone, go ahead, take your pictures now, get them out the way. She did little poses. And from there, she was like, all right, are we ready? Put them away. And she put
Oh,
on the best show.
yeah, I would imagine, right? Because everyone's energy is present.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Okay. So how's the cost of living? Is
You
it
know,
affordable?
It depends, right? Panama, I think, offers anything that anybody would want. So yes, you can live in a penthouse apartment, you can live in a mansion, you can buy property, you can, if you want to spend money anywhere, you can do that. Um, I'm I find it a lot more affordable than living in the US. So I've rented a few places in between my house sits. And one place that I rented it was a really large 1 bedroom. It was an apartment and this was in El Valle, which is a very expensive community. And it was an apartment hotel, very basic, but they had a beautiful, warm, spring-fed pool, and I was paying $700 a month for that. In nature, in this beautiful environment, and included the electricity, the internet, and all that. Now I'm renting a 2-bedroom house that's $900 a month on a person's private property. So it's like a little casita.
Okay.
And this is in a expensive community. And yes, you can have houses that are, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 a month. But I'm just me. I don't need a lot of space. So far I have 1 cat so far. And you can rent like places down by the beach or in the city for like $1,100 a month for an apartment in the city.
Okay.
Right now, these prices are pretty low because of the aftermath of, the pandemic. And if you wanted to live in a very modest kind of traditional Panamanian style home that may not have hot water, you can even find places for like $500 a month, but that's not going to be in an expat community. It's going to be outside of an expat community. A lot of people come here thinking like, well, I read an article that said I could, find a place for $600 a month. Like you just have to go outside of where the expats are congregating, because those places are going to be a little more expensive.
Okay.
But I can go into town and I can spend $5 for a lunch at a fonda, it's like one of the typical restaurants, get some delicious chicken with lentils and rice and a little tiny salad for $5. Then there's a Peruvian restaurant, really good food. And he has the menu of the day, $5.50, comes with fresh juice, either pineapple juice or mango. Mango's my favorite. And a really nice fillet of fish. Or you can go to a fancy place. We have actually like a fancy restaurant called
Okay.
Casa de Lourdes, and you can spend $15, for a nice bacon wrapped fillet.
Gotcha.
My car insurance, I think, is like $350 for the year. I don't have health insurance right now. I am going to get it at some point, but I'm
Okay.
not paying for health insurance because it's pretty inexpensive to just get medical care. I have 1 prescription that I get filled. And what I really like is like, I'm not in a system. I can just get my prescription filled. They're not like entering me in a database, and, I can stock up a little bit, like if I'm going to travel back to the States. So I can, I
Okay.
like the freedom here,
Now, do you feel safe there?
I do. I wasn't sure if I was going to. And I think that was part of why I was interested in a condo, for the safety, right? Being high above, where someone couldn't break in, where you'd have like a secure building. And there is crime here. There's crime everywhere.
Okay.
I feel safe. I'm not really in areas or situations where I feel like I would be, a victim of crime, but obviously you
Right.
you don't know, right? It could happen anytime, but And especially being female and solo, there are considerations, that you need to have. But yeah, I mean, there's not the gun violence here is pretty much related just to like drug. It's pretty much only like drug stuff.
Okay.
And I'm not in drug stuff, so
Right.
I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's one concern a lot of women have. How can I travel and live somewhere solo as a woman?
Mhm.
You feel like, okay, the world is after me. I'm not protected. And I'm
Yeah.
so far from home. So who's going to come and see about me? So
Yeah.
I understand. I understand.
Yeah.
So did you know Spanish before moving there?
No. And I was just kind of, getting into Duolingo after I decided to move here. That has been a challenge for me. I think I get a little impatient. I want to know it now, and yet I haven't really been super consistent with my Spanish education. I'm thinking what I need to do actually is find a teenager here who wants to practice English.
Yes.
And they can help me with the Spanish, because that's fast. You can learn so much more quickly, right? With, just that immediate thing. Duolingo doesn't have the nuances that Panamanian Spanish has. It's different from Spanish in Spain or, Spanish in the Dominican Republic or,
Right.
or
I've been to
Mexico.
Panama. I've been to Panama 15 times. And each time I go there, I have friends there now, and I learn something new. And it's just something about being totally immersed into the culture. That's when the mind will just focus on on the language, and you go from there. I learned things like que lo que, like what's happening, what's up. And I'm like, wow, no one else knows that. I come to Miami saying que lo que, and no one knows what it means.
You're starting a trend.
Right. But just traveling, I've been to Colombia, Mexico, and been to Panama. And the more I travel there, the more I understand Miami. I understand Miami. I understand the driving now, because the driving in Panama City is crazy.
Yeah. It's funny actually, because like Panama, for the most part, super laid back, right? It's kind of that manana culture where manana might not really mean tomorrow. It just means like not today.
Right.
So it's like laid back and real chill, unless they're in the car. And then it's like, I want to go as fast as I can because I got to get somewhere to chill out and relax,
Yeah. And the first time I rented a vehicle there, I was scared. I can't lie. I was so afraid. And finally, I realized, wait a minute, just jump in.
Yeah.
Jump in, go with the flow. No one's going to hit you because most people may not have insurance, or this vehicle may be the only vehicle they have for their family. So they're not trying to tear it up. So I was like, okay, I'm good. And I got out there. I found my lane of comfort. That was all I needed right there.
Yeah.
And then
that's a good, I was going to say, that's
really
a good metaphor. Yeah.
Find your lane, huh?
Your comfort lane. Yes.
Yes. For life. That's it. So once I became really comfortable, then I realized, watch the potholes. Potholes will pop up any and everywhere in Panama.
Yep. And dogs.
Yes.
And then did you ever have the experience where, like traffic gets a little backed up? All of a sudden people with things to sell are walking in the lanes of the highway.
The highway, selling their goods.
Yes. In the middle of traffic.
Yes. Yeah. I was driving to Panama Carnival a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. Traffic was backed up. And there were people selling water, selling Pepsi, selling food. And I'm thinking, wow, this was really cool.
Yeah.
Really
but,
cool.
It's an obstacle course.
Yes. And the thing is, no one will hit them.
No. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorite things in Panama? You've covered a lot of ground then.
Oh my God.
15 trips here. That's a lot.
Yes. Let's see. My favorite was probably going to David. I flew from Panama City to David. And then from David, I caught the taxi to Boquete. And I stayed in a hostel one night. And then from there, I went to an Airbnb that was a tree house.
Oh.
It was a tree house and there were no windows. I got to the top of it, and every morning the birds were singing. I hear the roosters, and it was just the coolest feeling. And the
Wow.
mountain air would come in at night and I was freezing. But I had enough blankets. But the bad part was, I was a couple of nights later, I was going to hike
Baru.
Oak Baru. So I read up that you have to hydrate before your hike. So I'm drinking all the water I can. I had to go down and pee like every 10 or 15 minutes. So I'm going down the stairs, up the stairs, down it. And I'm thinking, this is ridiculous. So
Can't you just pee off the side?
Well, this is somebody's property. My house, I wouldn't want you peeing out the side of the house.
Yeah, I guess that's not like great guest behavior, right?
It's not. So I emptied a bottle and I ended up using the bottle.
Yeah, that's smart. But actually, those stairs going up and down, probably good training for the hike.
I didn't see it that way. I didn't see it. And then every time I would turn the light on, the bugs will come out of everywhere. I'm in the jungle and they're just coming. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't turn the lights on. The bugs are coming. And so I had to do everything in the dark.
Yeah.
Up and down the stairs too. But it was cool experience.
So there were no screens even. There were no screens. Wow.
No, I'll send you some photos of it. No
wow.
screen. It was really out in the open. But I caught the most amazing rainbows.
Oh, wow.
The clouds were going past me.
Yeah.
Just a beautiful experience. And I loved it. So now I try to stay somewhere that's off the beaten path wherever I go. I just want an experience that I just can't get anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it's so interesting too, because like Panama definitely offers that. Like you can stay in a treehouse or you can stay in a luxury hotel in the city, you know?
Yes.
It's really cool to have that accessible just in this small country, you know?
And the people are nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice. So
yeah,
I felt at home there. I really did. And I got a chance to meet some great people, develop some friendships, and I can see living there. Matter of fact, I was going to move there for retirement, but now I'm stuck on Rio. I'm stuck on Brazil.
Ah.
Yeah. So the cost of living, I think, is cheaper. And I just tell everybody, my goal now is to get the most out of my money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think everybody, right? We want the most out of that money. Yeah.
So I just have the attitude that when you get your check, it's me against the economy. Either I'm going to get the most I can get out of my money, or the economy is going to get the most out of my money. You know, so it's like one of us is going to win, and some weeks I win, some weeks I lose. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking, I don't want to live here, you know, for retirement.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to be in a seniors community, you know, in a high rise, and I'm getting Social Security, and that's all I have, and it's gone.
Yeah.
You know,
and it's interesting too how some people, there's all sorts of different types of expats, right? Why people leave their home country and go somewhere else. And there are certainly people here who want to replicate, a mini United States. And they might just kind of stay amongst themselves and they just want to play their golf and, have the cocktails and not really learn about the culture, or maybe pick up some language and have, more of an authentic experience. But I think they're missing out on a lot of things. You don't move to a different country to just replicate what you left,
But that's the person that's trying to bring their lane to another country to be comfortable.
Yes.
That's not being fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
To locals there.
Yeah, when I did have like a grumpy gringa moment early on when I was here. I mean, I probably had more than one grumpy gringa moment, but the one that I really remember was I'd met my car insurance agent at a restaurant in Coronado, and I had ordered a cup of tea, and it's horrible tea. It's so weak. I like a really strong black tea, like, English tea.
Right.
And the tea that they served is just it's just bad. It's like water. And
Well, yeah.
I asked for a refill, so they brought me another tea bag and another cup of water, and they charged 250 per tea bag. And I was just kind of irritated by this, and I kept hearing myself saying, well, usually they don't charge for another, for a second cup of tea, right? Like usually I'm like, okay, wait, what's usually? I'm in a new country.
Mhm.
Who's they? The people that own restaurants in the United States? Yeah, you're not in the United States. You're here. Things are run
Yeah.
differently. They're charging 250 per tea bag, and you pay it, and that's it. And
Yeah.
and then I tried to just stop if I heard myself say they should, right? Oh, well, they should, do this, that, or the other about whatever, littering, the stray dogs. They should. No, you know what? I don't want to take that attitude.
Good. Good. Well, it seems like Panama is a good place for you. It's a
Yeah,
good
I
place
love
to
it.
be still and get yourself together and centered and stay centered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
I love it.
as you're speaking, I'm listening to the birds in the background. Like, wow, that is so cool.
Yeah, yeah. And the wind.
Wow. Yes. I don't hear the wind much. I just see your hair blowing in the wind.
Yeah. It's dry season, and so in the dry season, you have the wind. Um, so it's nice. Yeah.
So when's the best time to visit Panama?
Um, the dry season is like December through March or April.
Okay.
So like December through April is kind of considered, the high season, because people usually want to come for the sunshine, the warmth, getting away from where it's cold.
Right.
I really like the in between seasons, after rainy season, getting into dry season, or after dry season and when rainy season starts. I really like both of those times. Um, and then depending on where you are in the country, the weather can be very different. Like you experienced in Boquete or like Volcan Baru,
Yes.
it can be cold,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Freezing.
Yeah. But if you're, down by the beach, it can be pretty hot. Some places are going to have more rain than others. Um, but generally, like during the dry season, every place is pretty sunny. There might be a little sprinkle here and there, but nothing, nothing major. But
Okay.
when it rains, like toward the end of rainy season, it's massive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, have you checked into healthcare in Panama? You said you don't
Nope,
have healthcare.
not yet.
Okay. Hey, let's get on it now. How long does it take to become a citizen there?
Well, so I have residency. I'm not a citizen of Panama, so I
Okay.
have permanent residency. If you want to become a citizen, you have to be a resident for 5 years and take a test of some sort. Um, I don't really have an interest in becoming a citizen. I just want my permanent residency here. So that's sufficient for me.
Okay.
And there's, different visas. Like I'm not sure what you found for Brazil with getting residency there. Do they have something similar to Panama?
There's no, Panama has the best program,
Yeah.
by far the best. But every country has that retirement, that retirement visa that they offer
Hmm.
you. And that's to pull those retirement dollars in and hopefully keep you there. So I'm
Yeah.
into that.
Yeah. And I don't have retirement visa. I came in on the Friendly Nations visa,
Okay.
which they've changed since I got my residency. They made it a little more difficult and expensive. So I'm really glad that I got in when I did. But because I'm over 55, I get the discounts for the jubilado discount.
Yes.
Anyway,
Now,
so
explain that.
so for women who are 55 and over, and men, I think can't remember if it's 60, it might be 60. If you're a resident or obviously a Panamanian, you get discounts on movie tickets, airline tickets. If you buy your ticket like through a certain special number, medicines, so your prescriptions, restaurants, you get a discount on your restaurant bill, hotels. So during the week in Panama City, you can get up to 50% off on hotel rates and 30% off on the weekends for the jubilado discount.
Hey.
Sometimes I don't even ask for it because the rates are so low, and I don't usually ask for it if it's like a mom and pop business,
Right.
because it's just not, they don't get reimbursed from the government. But if it's a chain, I'll definitely ask for the discount. Yeah.
And it's good to frequent the mom and pop shops just to help them out.
Yeah. You buy local, you get your local pineapples and mangoes and plantains, and that's fun too, right? To experiment with different foods that you're going to cook, learn
Yes.
about different foods. I didn't know what a plantain was in the US,
Yes. I remember driving in Panama and seeing pineapples on the side of the road for $1.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, that's the local price. That's the local price. So of course I stopped and loaded up on like 6 pineapples.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
But so how can nomads get in touch with you if they have any questions? Do you have a website? Do you have a blog?
I have everything.
You have everything.
Got it all.
Give it
Yes.
to me and give me the name
Everything.
of your book. The name of your book also.
Everything is Patty Blue Hayes. So it's pattybluehays.com is the website.
Okay.
Patty Blue Hayes is the YouTube channel. And that's about it, I guess. And a Facebook page for Patty Blue Hayes.
Okay.
And then the one book, because I have 3 books, but one is the journal, the like massive, like, pour the heart on the page. The other 2 books, one is actually a travel planning book for Thailand. So anyone who's thinking of Thailand, it's a really good resource for, how to prepare, what to pack, and also gives information on the animal tourism, specifically the elephant tourism, because I went to Thailand and volunteered at an elephant sanctuary that I thought was ethical and real, and it wasn't. So I learned a lot. But that's a good book for preparation because there's a lot to figure out, before going to Thailand. But the book of the aftermath of the heartbreak is Wine, Sex, and Suicide, My Near-Death Divorce.
Okay. All right. Well, I am so glad that you survived. I'm glad
Me too.
You've grown. You've grown and you're still growing. And I tell people divorce will either take you under or it'll make you stand up and say, man, I got stuff to do. I got to, so it inspired you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So just keep moving, keep going forward and continue being a blessing to others. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hope to see you in Panama someday.
Yes. Next time I come, I will. And if I'm in El Valle, I will come and look for you. Okay. I'll let you know
right.
I'm there. Okay.
Sounds
all right.
good.
Thanks for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
Bye.